Hello, Lena. Welcome to Mr. Quickest Teachers. Mr. Quickest. In this lesson, I'll be analyzing Aaron Kulaka's poem, the Bus. Now, this analysis is part of the 15 poems in your GCSE or IGCSE anthology for the exams, the English literature paper, poetry. Now, this analysis is part of a course that has or contains all 15 poems that I've analyzed with rolling annotations. The course also contains sample A-star quality essays, that you can mimic or, see how to present your essays, what you should write in the introduction, the body of your essay, how to use conjunctions to make your writing flow, the conclusion, and the rest. It also has predicted questions as well for each of the poems. So for this poem, for example, you have sample predicted questions that you can try out to see how well you understand the analysis. Now, additionally, to make your life a bit simpler, everything is being put together. So you don't need to gallivant or go around different pages to find the answer. So all 15 poems, properly and perfectly analyzed, is there. Now, to get access to the analysis, you can subscribe for only £5 a month. So that means you get access to all the 15 poems, the sample A-star quality essays, and also the predicted questions as well. Now, you can also buy the entirety of the course for only £45 a year. So that means you get to save £15 or 3 months of subscriptions if you buy it in a year, or you can just subscribe to it for £5 a month. That allows you to get full access to the course, and then ask questions as well in the course, so that you can reach out to me in the course, and I'll answer you as best as I can. Now, additionally, at Mr. Quickest Teaches, we also provide tuition services as well. So if you need help with the other components of the English literature, so for example, you need help with the prose, the drama, the unseen paper, or even the poetry, which this analysis is part of, you can sign up at www.mrquickestteachers.com. You find the links to the subscription for the courses, and also the links for the rest of the points or the things I'm saying as well in the description of this video. Now, additionally, if you need help with other subjects in the IGCSE or GCSE, if you're writing in the UK, you can again sign up, or you can send me an email, and you can send the email to mrq@mrquickestteachers.com. So that is mrq@mrquickestteachers.com, or you can also send me an email, send an email to me at mrquickestteachers@gmail.com. So if you need help with other subjects, for example, English language, history, geography, sociology, the sciences, triple science, math, just reach out to me or sign up, and then you get to join the lesson. And the key thing is that, or the sweet thing about it, is that the first lesson is a trial lesson. So it means that if you join the lesson and you like it, you can stick and stay. If not, you can look for other options. So you can just enjoy the free lesson, the trial lesson, without any obligation. So that's it for that bit. Let's begin the analysis. Let's begin by speaking about the poet, Aaron Kulaka. So he was born on the 1st of November 1932, and then he died on the 25th of September 2004. He was an Indian poet. He wrote in both Marathi and then in English. His poems are known for expressing the humor in everyday life. Kulaka is the only Indian poet other than Kabir who to be featured on the classics title of New York Book Review of Books. His first collection of English poetry, Jejura, won the Commonwealth Poetry Prize in 1977. His Marathi verse collection, Bichki Vavond, won a Satya Academy Award in 2005. So he was also a graphic designer as well. So he was quite versatile, in terms of his artistic prowess. So that is just a brief note on the poet, Aaron Kokaka. Now, let's look at the poem. So this is how the poem appears on your anthology, all right? The entirety of the poem is 22 lines. Now, in terms of the summary of the poem is about this journey, that this speaker narrates that is happening. He refers to this person as you, so the second person pronoun you. So the person appears to be taking this pilgrimage, to Jejuri, and he's climbing up to Jejuri, and then the things that happens in course of the travel, and then by the end of it, it appears that this pilgrim of sorts, this religious pilgrim, gets like sort of an epiphany or becomes transformed or enlightened in course of the journey. That essentially is what the poem is about. But it takes place, in a bus, which is quite obscure in the sense that there's no light coming in and the rest of it. So that's a summary of the poem. Let me start my analysis by reading the poem, The Bus by Aaron Kokaka. The tarpaulin flaps are buttoned down on the windows of the state transport bus, all the way up to Jejuri. The cold wind keeps whipping and slapping a corner of tarpaulin at your elbow. You look down at the rolling road. You search for the signs of daybreak in what little light spills out of bus. Your own divided face in a pair of glasses on an old man's nose is all the countryside you get to see. You seem to move continually forward toward a destination just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrow. Outside, the sun has risen quietly. It's aimed through an eyelet in the tarpaulin and shoots at the old man's glasses. A sawed-off sunbeam comes to rest gently against the driver's right temple. The bus seems to change direction. At the end of bumpy ride, with your own face on the other side, when you get off the bus, you don't step inside the old man's head. So that essentially is a reading of the poem. Now, observe that the poem opens with a very, very formal tone. What can be described as a formal tone? The tarpaulin flaps are buttoned down. So it has a very, very formal tone and reveals that the view of all the passengers to the outside of the bus is totally restricted. So they cannot see outside. Now, the detail, the tarpaulin flaps being buttoned down, also provides vivid visual imagery of the buttons running from the top to the bottom of all the windows of the bus. So we have like tarpaulin flaps. Now the question is that are there tarpaulin glass on the windows? So on the windows reverse exactly where the tarpaulins are, where the tarpaulins are on the bus, and the question is that why is there no glass windows? All right. The tarpaulins in place there possibly to stop rain, from entering, maybe when they are traveling or something like that, or prevent dust or things like that from entering into the bus. But I think the reason is because the bus is likely very, very rickety and dilapidated. Possibly it's an old bus, and I come to that conclusion because of what we see in the last part of the second line when it says of the state's transport bus. So that reveals the ownership of the bus. Who owns the bus? It's not a private enterprise. It's owned by the states. Now, it is likely that this detail about it being owned by the states is revealed because it wants to sort of point the reader to the stereotype that state-owned assets are very poorly managed. And this bus is like a testament of the poor management of state-owned properties. So instead of glass windows that would have allowed the travelers to see, what's happening around them, enjoy the scenery, they are sort of tied in by the opaque tarpaulin flaps. Now, the next thing we see is the second sentence is all the way up to Jejuri. So all the way up to reveals the final destination of the bus, where the bus is going up to Jejuri. Observe also that the word Jejuri is not capitalized, but I'll speak about that later on when I speak about some of the stylistic devices that the poet uses. Then the detail that up the way to Jejuri also signals that they were traveling from a lower to a higher elevation. So if you are going up, they are going from a lower to a higher destination. But then it could also be a metaphor for going from a lower to a higher level of spiritual enlightenment. So the idea I get from it, figuratively, is that these travelers, especially the old man, is at a lower level of elevation. But as he goes up to Jejuri, he becomes a bit more enlightened, because Jejuri is a place of enlightenment, or is a place where people receive enlightenment. Now, Jejuri is a city in Pune, India, and it is famous for the Khandoba temple, a revered Hindu pilgrimage site. So that's where this idea of pilgrimage comes out from. But they are going on a pilgrimage, but they are traveling in very, very not ideal circumstance. To put it a bit, or to understate it, but to put it a bit more fairly, would say that it's a very, very difficult travel for the passengers. In the second stanza, we see a blend of tactile imagery. So tactile imagery is an imagery of feeling. We also see the use of personification, and we also see the use of metaphor as well. So that's a blend. Just that phrase there, a cold wind. Now, A suggests that the wind is singular, like it's like a singular wind, while the characterization cold provides vivid tactile imagery of its extreme frigidity, so coldness. And it's also a metaphorical way of highlighting its unfriendliness. So the wind that pounds on the bus is very, very unfriendly, but it's alone, in a sense. Now, we also see the use of powerful verbs. And the powerful verbs are whipping and then slapping. So, and the verbs are presented in the present continuous tense to create the impression that it's happening, or the events that the speaker is talking about is happening in real time. Now, the use of the word whipping and slapping personifies the cold wind that we saw in the earlier portions of the line, and presents it as very, very relentless, violent, and very determined. So it doesn't relent, it is consistent, it's violent, and it's very determined. And we're told where it is hitting. It is hitting a corner of tarpaulin at your elbow. Now that shows that it is very, very precise. This cold wind, this individual cold wind, is very, very precise. And it's aiming possibly to weaken the spot where the unnamed co-traveler of the speaker, who he refers to in the second person pronoun your, is sitting. So it appears that the speaker possibly is in the bus and is looking at what is happening with his co-traveler, maybe somebody that he knows, or maybe it could be a father or an older relative or something. And he's looking at how the wind is whipping at the person's elbow. Now, the fact that the corner of the tarpaulin, where the co-traveler's elbow is where the personified wind is aiming at, creates the impression that it is attacking him. So there's this sense here that an element of nature, even as the persona travels up to Jejuri for enlightenment, is being attacked. And I think the poet possibly does this to show that the road to enlightenment, or better understanding of things, is not an easy road. It's a road that is full with challenges and sometimes attacks, possibly even from nature, or baser forces of sorts. In the first stanza, we again see the use of the second person pronoun. So the speaker now reports, you look down. So it tells us the reaction of the persona to what is happening, to his elbow being whipped, or the tarpaulin portion where his elbow is being whipped. You look down. So that's the second reference to the unnamed persona, and reveals them shifting their line of sight downwards. Now, this detail also exposes that the speaker is very interested in the unnamed persona's actions. So it's not only concerned about what is happening to him, but it's also telling us the way he reacts to what is happening to him. Then we see the use of personification, onomatopoeia, and alliteration in the detail to the roaring road. So to the roaring road. Now, the personification is seen in the use of the word roaring. So when there's a roar, something suggests that the personified road is very, very bestial and loud, like an animal, a lion essentially. It's like very, very animalistic. Again, that tells us the challenges or as one travels towards enlightenment or towards better knowledge or on a pilgrimage. It's a difficult road to travel on. Then we see the use of onomatopoeia there in the repetition of the RO sound in roaring road. So row, kind of row. Now both devices, the onomatopoeia, that we spoke about, and also the alliteration that we're speaking about, combine to provide vivid auditory imagery of the noisiness of the journey. So the journey is very, very noisy, and that is because of the blend of onomatopoeia. You see, the onomatopoeia is the sound that we hear, and it shows that it is very, very discomforting. So think about it. You're in this journey towards enlightenment. You're not meditating, or you're not able to meditate because there's chaotic noise that is very, very discomforting as you travel. Now, we also see the use of anaphora as well in terms of literary devices. So the poet repeats "you" as the first word of the second line of the stanza. So if you look at the first stanza, line 1 begins with "you," line 2 also begins with "you." That qualifies the word "you" as an anaphora that emphasizes the actions of the unnamed persona and highlights the persona's centrality to the unfolding events. So it is not just about enlightenment, but it's a journey for this persona, and then this poetic voice or speaker wants the reader to focus on him because he is central to this move. We again see another action that he takes. Not only does he look down the road, we are told that you search for the signs of daybreak. So that's a third reference to the unnamed persona and exposes their deliberate hunt for any natural light, likely from a desire to escape the restrictiveness of the bus and engage with nature. Remember, the poem opens with the tarpaulin flap. So he's looking for any light as the day broken. Now, this line is also a metaphor because in what little light that spills out of the bus is a metaphor that presents the little light in the bus in the similitude that's being similar to spilled water. So when you spill water, water spreads and travels very far. Now also, in what little light spills out of the bus tells that it is dark. It is very dark outside. Now, I don't know if it's dark because of the tarpaulins or it's dark because it's night. But it shows that it is from the interior of the bus that we have some little light that exits the road. So possibly that they are traveling at night. So again, we see that this journey to enlightenment is a journey that sometimes has to be taken in the dark, essentially. Because, in a more deeper meaning, it means that you would not be sure of what you're doing until you get there. So the road to enlightenment is full of darkness because you do not know what you're to do. Now, in terms of the themes of the poem, we see the theme of religious pilgrimage, observance, and enlightenment. Those are like the key themes. Then we see the theme of religion, but literally it's like traveling in difficult situation. Then we also see the theme of epiphanos change or epiphany. So this person comes to a new realization, a new level, body of knowledge and wisdom. In terms of the tone, it's quite gossipy, especially with the use of the word "you" and "your" and all of that. There's this sense that the speaker is talking about this old man without the old man's permission to the reader, or gossiping about him to the reader. It's also quite revealing as well. All right. Then, in terms of the point of view of the poem is recounted in the second person point of view. So this is seen in the multiple references to the persona as "you" and "your" in the poem, which creates the impression that the speaker is speaking directly to the old man. So it's like sort of recounting to the old man what the old man did on his road or on his travel to enlightenment. So there's this sense that he's speaking to the old man, and then the reader only is dropping on what's happening. In terms of the form and structure of the poem is a free verse poem. Now, I usually tell my students that you cannot write about a poem, or they give you a question. So for example, they ask you, How does Aaron Kaka in the bus, speak so powerfully about the persona's journey? Or how does it make the bus ride so unforgettable? You have to speak about or write about the form and structure of the poem. If you're looking to get either a grade 9 or an A star, or grade 8 or an A, you have to speak about the form and structure. So in this poem is a free verse poem. That means it does not have a rhyme scheme. Now additionally, the poem also has 22 lines. So we see 4 tacet stanzas. Tacet means 3-line stanzas. So we see that stanzas 1, stanza 4, stanza 5, and stanza 7 are 3 lines. Then we also see 4 couplet or 2-line stanzas. So that's stanzas 2, 3, and 8. Then we also see a monostitch as well. Monostitch is a 1-line stanza or a single line stanza, and that's stanza 9. I think the speaker, the poet uses this, unequal stanza length to show the different or the varied nature of the journey. How sometimes it appears to be extremely long, then later on it becomes a bit short and compressed. So that's like the reason I think the speaker uses the uneven or unequal stanza length and line length. So if you look at the lines, for example, if you look at line 7, it's extremely long. You search, so how intently is that, but then some of the lines are a bit short. Then we also see the use of enjambment as well, and indentation, and also small letters. I spoke about it in the opening portions of my introduction or the analysis. I said the entirety of the poem is actually presented in small letters. So the poet employs enjambment multiple times in the poem, seen in the flow of words from one line to the next, which mimics the journey and the persona achieving enlightenment. Then we also see the use of indentation as well. So you see the indentation here, in this word temple, that we see in stanza 7, right? So the second line of stanza 7 is indented. And I think the writer uses indentation there to create suspense in the second line of stanza 7. Then we also see the use of poetic line sense as well. So that allows the poet to use small letters in the entire poem. So if you look at the entirety of the poem, right, all of it is just small letters. So we see the use of indentations, stanza 7, and small letters. So that's poetic line sense. And I think the speaker does this to show that he doesn't want to bring a lot of focus in the language that is used, but he wants to bring a lot of focus on the person that achieves the old elderly old man that achieves enlightenment. So there you have it. Aaron Kolaka's the bus has been made simple. Like I said in the opening portions, this analysis is part of a course in which I've analyzed all the 15 poems in the anthology. So for the GCSE or IGCSE, right? You see the list there as the poems you have to do. The course also contains predicted questions. So when you listen to the analysis, you can try out the predicted questions and see if you can, write A star, or if you're not looking for an A star, maybe an A, or even a grade 8 or a grade 9 essay. Now, additionally, to make your work a bit easier, I've written out sample essays as well. So sample grade 8, grade 9, A or A star essays that you can look at, and mirror your essays around. So the course, all 15 points properly analyzed, predicted questions, sample A star, essays. Now, additionally, we also provide tuition services as well at Mr. Quickest Teachers. So if you need help, for example, in the other components like prose, drama, unseen, or even the poetry as well for the English literature exams, you can just sign up for either our group sessions or our one-on-one sessions. We also provide tuition assistance as well for other subjects like English language, history, geography, sociology, math. We have maths, the sciences. We have very, very experienced teachers who have taught for between 50 to 20 years, 10 years, that can help you build your confidence. I've taught the GCSE or IGCSE since 2008. So I know, for example, that one of the key things you have to do for a student is to build their confidence on what to do. And immediately you build a student's confidence, I've seen students move even from D's to A just by the building their confidence, you know. And that's something that at Mr. Quickest Teaches we hope to achieve. And like I said, for our tuition services, the first lesson is a trial lesson. That means that if you join the lesson and you like it, you can stick and stay. If not, without any presenting any full dossier or something, you can just decide to look for other people who can help you. But just reach out to me as well at Mr. Quickest Teaches at gmail.com, and you can do me an email, mrquickestteaches at gmail.com, or you can also do me an email to Mr. Q at mrquickestteaches.com, and then let me know, any help that we can afford to you or give to you. We'll be glad to do that for you. And if you have any other questions, you can leave them in the comments field of the analysis, or you can write it. You can try to reach me, and then we'll see how best to help you. Thank you so much for joining this lesson. Until next time from me, bye-bye.